into this new episode. In this episode, what we're going to learn to do is to read all the data in the test file. In the previous episode, what we did was to write this block of code. However, it could write or it could read just the first line in the test editor. Okay, so how do we achieve reading the full content of the file? That is the essence of looping, learning to know how to loop. So you know of the for loop, the while loop, the do while. Okay, we are going to put this block which is supposed to repeat a number of times. So line 25 is supposed to pick the first line and then drop it in the file, in the variable name called data. Okay, line 26 is supposed to simply print. So when this picks the first line, it gets stuck. How would the control move to the next until it has gotten to the latter, which will mean that we will need to write our instruction to determine the end of that file. When we know the end of that file, or when we have written it, that it is able to tell when there is more available statements or strings to be printed from the file, it will have to continue. It should stop only when there is not any further statement in the file. Okay, so we'll be using the while loop with a function called hasNest. Okay, so while is a keyword, we make reference to the sc object, and we say that while it has nest, what should it do? Okay, so on line 24, while this condition we have put here is true, okay, the hasNest determines the end of the file. So when it has printed the last statement, the hasNest function will determine that it has gotten to the very last statement, and then there is not further an additional statement in the file that could be executed. It's halted. Okay, so that will cause the while loop to discontinue to what? To execute. Okay, what do we have here? Surround with selection. Nope, it's unnecessary. Okay, so now let's move ahead. So while this condition is true, it should pick the first line, drop it in the variable called data, and on the next line it will print it. Right, so the control moves again to line number 24. It will check the function hasNest will check again if there is an available line of statement that has not yet been executed. So it takes it to the next in the test file, the next until it encounters the very last statement or the last string in the file, and then the while loop would discontinue to execute. Okay, so let's save this, and then let's run it. Let's run the code. We expect to see the full output at the side. Okay, so it has read, just like you can see from here. It reads, "Hello John, hello my sandwich friends, glad to meet you all. Hello John" again. So this is printing the content of the entire file. Let's see if it is the same in this. "Hello John, blah 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 blah." It comes to "Hello John" again. It reads the same exactly as we have in the test file that has read it down here. All right, so What we must understand quickly is the application of the loop. It is the loop, and its combination with the function hasNest that determines the end of the file, which will cause it to what? To stop. So the hasNest function determines the end of the file. When it has gotten to the end of the file, then the execution would what? Would stop. This is how to read the content of the full content of a test file. Right. Hold on whilst in the next episode we learn how to read primitive data. All of these ones that we read from the file, they were all string types. You can have a numerical data type as an input. How do you read these inputs from a test file? We'll do that in the next episode.